What is going on, everyone? So, a lot of you have been waiting for this, and we finally got both of these here. So, we're gonna do a little comparison video. If you are in the market for a Turbo K SUV, it's pretty much only two you can choose from. You got the Pajero Mini, and you got the Jimny. Each one does have a couple different variants. The VR2 is gonna be the top of the line on the Pajero side. And the Jimny is basically by year. They're all turbocharged. They all basically have the same engine up to a certain year. So what we're going to do is show you each one, the features of each one, and you can choose which one's right for you. I am going to tell you guys this. I had this planned as a video series. We were going to go in the woods. We were going to do on-road testing. We were going to do, obviously, off-road testing. We're going to do drag races. We're going to do a bunch of stuff with these two trucks. However, this truck came with a smoked clutch. It barely moves. I was able to move it from behind my shop to out here, and that was a struggle. It goes maybe 15 miles an hour at top speed right now. So we have a clutch being built for that. I'm going to go up a little bit, uprate it, you know, make it hold a little more power. And the Jimny actually runs and drives just fine. So that kind of put a damper on our little series comparing the two driving wise, but what we are still going to do is show you everything about both of them. I've had enough of these that I can tell you guys at least how it feels on the road and how it feels off-road. And same thing with the Jimnys. I've had quite a few of them as well. So I think I have enough background to inform you guys on your next purchase, if it happens to be a K truck, little Turbo K truck. So let's get into it. I originally planned on having this be a multi-video, full-blown comparison. Drag racing, off-road, on-road, gas consumption, everything you could think of. However, the Pajero Mini came with a smoked clutch. It barely moves, so kind of threw those plans to the wayside. I do have a clutch being made up for it, but it might not be ready because I have to sell one of them, the running one, in order to keep operations going here. To start off, these aren't the top tier trucks. These aren't bring a trailer trucks. They're not, you know, grade 4 brand new looking trucks. They're just used trucks. Back in Japan, up to a year or two ago, these were junk throwaway trucks. I can't even imagine how many of thousands of these things got scrapped over the years. So many of them, it's unreal. So while you can still get a decent one cheap, the prices are going up, and they're realizing that the US market is open for them. People do want them. That being said, these ones are on the cheaper side. They're not super expensive trucks by any means, and we're gonna go over pricing a little bit, but these are like low to mid-tier trucks. First off, getting your Japanese import. As soon as you get it, if you are the first person to bring it over, you're gonna wanna go over the whole thing. You're gonna wanna give it a tune-up, do spark plugs, change all the fluids. The tires are most likely gonna be smoked. I've gotten lucky a couple times, had brand new tires. Most of the time the tires are smoked. Both of these trucks need tires. If you plan on doing a little something with it, raising it, putting bigger tires, then that really doesn't matter and you could score a deal. So you decided you wanted a K SUV. You decided you wanted to hit some sweet trails. You decided you want to hear that turbo boost and a little blow-off valve. Now you got to decide which truck you want, because they're different. I've said it a couple times already. They're quite different. We got the Pajero Mini. These come in a couple different forms. This is the last year of the first body. So this is an H56A, it's a 97. It came with an airbag. And if that's something that's important to you, you're gonna look at a 97 Pajero. anything under a 97, and it's late 97. Early 97s did not have an airbag. So late 97 Pajero Minis, airbag. No passenger airbag though. Also, another thing that Pajero Minis do have on some of them is keyless entry. The battery's too dead on this one, so I can't try it out. But late model H56As have keyless entry. After the H56A, you're going to move to an H58A. And it's basically the exact same truck. They refined a couple little things, a couple things on the dashboard and the cluster. The front headlights are no longer circle, they are square. But the body itself is the same. You know, 90% of the truck is exactly the same. We are going to start off by talking about the biggest difference in these two trucks. The Pajero Mini has a McPherson coil setup in the front with independent front suspension. The rear has a solid rear axle and a coil and shock separate, but you still have a coil setup on the back of the Pajero Mini. This particular Jimny, being an early model, has leaf springs front and rear and solid straight axle front and rear. So this is set up more like an old Jeep versus this is set up like a modern, I'm not going to say a crossover because it has a solid rear axle, but this is set up more like just like a newer truck, which makes the ride in this much smoother than this. In the Jimny, you're bouncing down the street like an old Jeep or an old Army truck, which this, you're just cruising down the street in comfort. It feels like you're driving a Camry. For off-roading, this is the setup you want. You got lockable front diffs for your four-wheel drive. You got 4 low, 4 high, and 2 high, and neutral in your transfer case, which is right down there. On the Pajero Mini, on the other hand, you don't have any four-wheel drive locks in the front, but what you do have is a transfer case as well. 2 high, 4 high, neutral, and 4 low. So at least this does have the ability to go into low gear, which is nice for a little truck. Alright, they both need to be washed, but our next thing we're going to talk about is the engines. Now both these trucks might be 660cc and only 63, 64 horsepower, but the engines are mighty different from each other. In the Jimny, you got a 3-cylinder 12-valve turbocharged with a top-mount intercooler and a distributor with wires heading to the spark plugs. This is an F6A engine, and it is ran in a lot of different Subaru K cars. They came in single and dual overhead cam version. The Jimnys have the single overhead cam. DJ's van actually has an F6A in it as well. Same motor as this. Moving on to the Mitsubishi. This is the 4A30 engine, again with the top mount. This is a 4-cylinder. So we have one more cylinder, but it's the same size. Still 660, rated at 64 horsepower. This one gets rid of the distributor and has coil-on plug setup, which inherently is just a newer, more efficient setup. These engines tend to be a little smoother, a little better on fuel mileage, believe it or not, and just overall newer package than the F6A setup. The straight 4 in general is just a smoother design than a straight 3. You're going to get a lot less vibrations. I'm not saying that that is a rattle box by any means, because it's not. It's still pretty smooth, but the inline 4 is inherently smoother than the inline 3. Another thing is the Pajero Mini turbocharged version with the 4A30 engine has 20 valves in its 4 cylinders. So you got 5 valves per cylinder, and what you're going to do is you're going to have 2 intakes and 3 exhaust valves, which makes the air flow in pretty well and flow out even better. They're all tiny. You got tiny cylinders, you got tiny valves, but when everything's cranking out at 8,500 RPMs, it is flowing pretty good. Again, with the timing belt setup as well, both timing belt engines, and I highly recommend staying on top of it. If you don't know the last time it's been done and you just imported the truck, if it doesn't have a fresh sticker on it with the mileage, then buy a timing belt kit and do it. Even if it does have a fresh sticker on it with the mileage on it, pop the cover back and really take a good look at it. Make sure there's no dry rot, make sure there's no cracking on it, and really just take the best look you can at it, because you don't want to lose the timing belt and you don't want to replace the engine. Now, going by looks, it is said that the Jimny looks like a miniature G-Wagon, and they do sell kits to make them look like miniature G-Wagons, especially with the tin top like this. You got a couple different body styles in the Jimny. You got the tin top, which is a hard top like this. You have a soft top, which cuts it along here. It goes up and doesn't have a roof at all on it. It has a bar, and then you can have a soft Jeep style top for it. And you have a bubble top, which is like my old one that I had. And the top goes up a little higher, and it has two little windows, one on each side. And it looks identical to a miniature Land Rover Discovery. Really cool. The bubble tops are hard to find though, so we went with a tin top this time. But in the looks department, the Pajero Mini looks just like a scaled down full-size Pajero. If you put one next to it, it's like a 3/4 scale Pajero. And they look really good next to each other. You would never think that they'd make a 3/4 scale version of the exact same car and put it on the market, but they did, and they did pretty well. Interior wise, it's no contest. Pajero is just way more modern and just looks way better, feels way better. So you basically got the normal 90s Japanese interior in here. Nothing special, no frills or bells or whistles, but also fairly comfortable. So I'm 6'2", 6'3"-ish, and I fit in it without issue. I can fit as a passenger without issue as well. And it is not a bad spot to be. Like I said before, it also has an airbag if that is important to you. None on the passenger side, but driver side, you can get an airbag on the late 97, early 98 H56Es. Shifting is much smoother and much more predictable in the Pajero over the Jimny. The Jimny is a bit on the loose side and feels like an old farm tractor, but Pajero feels like you're driving a Toyota Camry. It's very smooth, pops right into gear, doesn't pop out, and it's just a joy to drive, really. Back seats are pretty much useless on both of them, but you definitely have a lot more room in the back of a Pajero Mini than you do on a Jimny. You can put a small child back there. You can fold it down and have a cargo space back here, which is basically what I always do. Jimny, on the other hand, everything feels a little bit older, from the way you open the truck to just the way the interior looks. It looks like it's from a decade or two prior to the Pajero Mini. It is a little harder to get yourself stuffed in, but it is possible. Door cards are a lot simpler. Everything is pretty simple on this. But then, when it comes time for the rear seat, that is all you got. One single rear seat. So a little more work when you need to put stuff in the back of the Jimny. This seat has already been unbolted, but usually it is bolted in with a couple bolts, and then you pick your seat up after it's unbolted and you bring it away. Now you have a whole rear. Sorry for the filthiness, but you have the whole rear to fill up, which really isn't too bad. But however, I would still pick the Pajero anytime. that's gonna be it, guys. I know we didn't get to drive them, we didn't get to go anywhere with them, we didn't get to put them to the real stress test, but that's because this has no clutch in it, and it's no fun just doing it with one. I'm not gonna go out there by myself, but hopefully I helped you guys with a little bit of ins and outs of these trucks, and I can make your decision on which one you want a little bit easier. So on that note, we are going to end, and we are going to start pulling the transmission out of this one so we can get the clutch done. But you know the deal, guys. Put a clutch in your Pajero and smash right into the like button. Grab a Jimny, roll over and hit the subscribe button, and then grab a CRV and give me a comment. I don't know, I'm just screwing around, guys, but that's it. Like, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys on the next one.